The Pakistan-Afghanistan conflict. Dangerous decisions have been taken for decades by Pakistan. It has fanned and created terror outfits. And well, since 2021, things and the tables literally changed and turned for Islamabad. And now all of that is coming to hit Pakistan very significantly. We break that entire conflict down for you in detail, tell you how is it that Pakistan is now staring at a crisis and a conflict that is set to probably escalate, given that the Taliban Afghanistan feels that they need to respond in the same coin to Pakistan. Let's break this down for you. First and foremost, what is the kind of numbers? Let's first tell you the numbers and then we tell you more in terms of how this is unfolding. 37 Afghanistan civilians have been killed. 425 have been wounded. This is the first important aspect to understand, that this conflict, which has been going on for some time between Pakistan and Afghanistan along the Durand line, it's a long border that the two countries face. Why is it that now they are bombing each other and bombing each other's civilians with such ferocity? In terms of Pakistani soldiers, 23 soldiers have been killed, and that tells you that these strikes that have been made by the Afghanistan Taliban have actually hit out at precision military strikes and military targets, which is what Afghanistan has been looking at. In terms of the TTP terrorists, there are about 6,000 militants. I still go with the word terrorists. Every time there is an act which is against the state, it is an act of war. It is an act of terror at least. And 6,000 terrorists. In terms of Pakistani security personnel, 2,400 have been killed this year alone. This is the single biggest and single most important statistic to understand how things are unfolding for Pakistan. For Asim Munir, this is the number of funerals that have taken place of his soldiers this year alone. And this year hasn't even ended so far for Asim Munir, frankly. He had a failed war with India, with the Operation Sindoor, and there's continuous pounding from the Afghanistan side along the entire Durand line, the 2,400 soldiers that have been killed from Pakistan. 17 civilians have been killed in Kandahar, and lastly 600 plus attacks have taken place so far as 2024 is concerned. Now this tells you the volatility that exists right now as far as the Pakistan-Afghanistan border dispute is concerned. Now what is this entire issue all about? That needs to be understood in detail. I'm going to play out this report that tells you why things have actually come to such a stop, because 4 years back you had Pakistan celebrating the exit of America and entry of Taliban. Just 4 years back, they were the ones who were extremely happy. They felt that they had a huge leverage in the entire region. They could actually ensure that India will have no access to Afghanistan and there further to the Central Asian regions completely. 4 years later, it seems Pakistan not only has lost the leverage but has been completely checkmated. What this entire issue is all about and how it's likely to pan out from here on, this report tells you more.
Back in the early 1990s, Pakistan helped shape the Taliban. The ISI saw them as strategic depth, a proxy against India in Afghanistan. The gamble seemed smart until it blew up. When the Taliban returned to power in Kabul in 2021, Islamabad expected influence. Instead, it inherited a threat. In 2024, terror attacks in Pakistan more than doubled from 517 to 1,099. Terror-related deaths rose by 45%, hitting over 1,000. At the heart of this surge is the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the TTP. Last year, it launched 482 attacks, causing 558 deaths, more than half of all terror fatalities. And nearly all the violence is concentrated along the western border provinces, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. This is where 96% of attacks and deaths occur. The contested 2,600-kilometer Durand line between Pakistan and Afghanistan has become a flashpoint. Border skirmishes, infiltration and airstrikes have escalated sharply. Early this year, fighting shut the critical Torkham crossing for nearly a month. Crippling trade and supplies. Then in October 2025, the worst clash in years. Afghan Taliban forces attacked Pakistani posts. Pakistan responded with air and ground strikes. Pakistan claims about 200 Taliban fighters were killed. The Taliban says 58 Pakistani soldiers also died. Numbers are disputed there as well. The fallout isn't just military. Afghan refugees face mass expulsions and border crossings remain unstable, disrupting both lives and economies on both sides. So how did Pakistan go from sponsor to target? The answer, a dual game, backing militant proxies abroad for strategic gain, but failing to rein them in when they turned inwards. The TTP, based and sheltered across the border, is the bitter payoff of that miscalculation. An NDTV World Report.
Well, viewers, when you cultivate terror as a tool, history never forgets. And Pakistan's frontier strategy has backfired. The fire it actually thought it ignited is now burning inside along its borders. And as we showed you the number of casualties of its civilians, of its soldiers, you can understand what is the kind of crisis that is lying ahead of it and of Pakistani military. Let's get in General Meston to talk more on this, to understand how this is likely to pan out from here, and more importantly, will this mean that Pakistan will continue to face a crisis as far as its Durand line is concerned? The border that exists right now is now one of the biggest crises for Asim Munir, isn't it, General Meston?
Gauri, absolutely. See, the fact of the matter is the fault lines between Pakistan and Afghanistan have been since 1893. And when I say Pakistan, I would say then British India, because Pakistan was not there even. This is the fault line. And this fault line was basically created by the Britishers to divide the Pashtuns on the both sides of the Durand line. Otherwise, the original borders prior to 1893 was west of Indus River. And this is where I came to know when I was in Afghanistan, and I got a deep insight into the history which were through the books of written in Pashto by Afghans. Now, Pakistan, when it was created, Afghanistan was the last country to officially recognize them in the United Nations. They were the last country. And the enmity goes back since then, because Pakistan had lost all the elections in the 1937 provincial elections. Muslim League got 0 votes in Northwest Frontier Province and 0 in Sindh, and only 1 in Pakistan, Punjab.
Yes.
So otherwise, everywhere, the Indian National Congress had won the votes, and of course in this place, Northwest Frontier Province, it was Bacha Khan's party, that is Frontier Gandhi. So the animosity between these countries goes since then, and they are sworn in enemies. I make this statement very, very properly. Number 2, when I was posted as the defense attaché in Afghanistan, I recollect Defense Minister of Afghanistan was invited to all the military installations and operations room in Pakistan. You know, when the Defense Minister came back, he told me, and he showed me all the video evidence, which I handed over to the Indian Army. In all the operation rooms, military has operations room in everywhere, whether it was Corps, Command, Army, their general headquarters, everywhere India and Afghanistan were depicted as enemies. An enemy in ops room is always depicted by red color.
Yeah.
So this again shows that they are enemies. And of course, Durand line has never been recognized by any of the Afghan government since 1893.
Yeah, this hasn't been. Which
Taliban
brings me to ask you one thing, sir.
Yeah.
That this is Asim Munir's worst nightmare, and it continues to increase simply because now India has opened those lines of communication with Afghanistan, which Pakistan thought would never happen because they were the ones who thought that they are the ones with leverage. But that isn't the case anymore.
See, for any Pakistani general, this issue of Afghanistan has been a nightmare since beginning, and even now it has become biggest nightmare because see their strategy in Pakistan's strategy was, to cultivate them and thinking, they are Muslims and that brotherhood will be there, but they didn't realize Afghans hate Pakistan the most and Indians are loved the most. So this is the order of the day there. We are the most loved country and the most hated country. You can take any country, Russia, United States, Turkey. The most hated is Pakistan. So imagine this nightmare continues and will continue. And I had no doubt that this problem will occur because Pakistan always thought that they can divide the Pashtuns on both sides of the Durand line and use them, exploit them, keep them illiterate, uneducated, just
Yes.
with the act of jihad, and therefore it will remain the biggest nightmare for Asim Munir. And now it is beyond their control because they were the ones who have, taken jihad and terrorism all over the world. Now it is paying them very rightfully, and it will continue to pay them till the time Pakistan does not take a call to give up state terrorism. This is the only way. Otherwise, they are going to be hit very hard. And I'm aware, Gauri, I must tell you, I know for very well the Pakistan army used to take Baluchis in the aircraft, helicopters, and throw them in the hard ground over there so that all the civilians was there and, the fear psychology develops, fear psychosis. Similarly, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area, and now even you have seen in Afghanistan,
Right.
they don't have any inhibitions in targeting civilian population. They use their artillery, they use their helicopter gunships.
Absolutely. And military grade weaponry is actually used against civilians. What can be worse than that actually? I'm going to leave it there, General Weston. Thanks much for joining us in this edition of Fault Lines. Well, viewers, if you take off your blinkers and understand how situation is unfolding for Pakistan right now, well, the two-front war that Pakistan was always dreaming about for India is actually coming true for itself. And that is what Asim Munir is looking at. And it is not just two front, it's multiple fronts. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan. Remember, add to it the fact that there are also tensions in other parts. Pakistan occupied Kashmir, we all saw those protests. And I haven't even started about the fact that Operation Sindoor isn't over as yet. So what is Pakistan really looking at? What is Asim Munir really looking at? He's looking at a two-front, three-front war, and those numbers in terms of Pakistani soldiers possibly increasing even more. We put out those figures for you to understand. No country, not even one run by dictators, can ever accept funerals of their soldiers happening. And that is what is taking place right now in Pakistan. How long will Asim Munir be Teflon coated is the question.